going on, everybody? It's your boy BrianDaddy with another video. Today we are going to discuss the naval content in Ashes of Creation. This is pretty exciting, and I think it's going to be another layer of just depth to the game that you will not experience in many other MMOs. So let's get started. Naval content refers to many things such as aquatic mounts, coastal nodes, fortresses, harbors, island chains, naval caravans, naval NPCs, naval PvP, naval quests, raids, ships, trade routes as well, treasure hunting, and underwater dungeons. This was actually unlocked as a part of during the Kickstarter when they reached the $1.5 million goal, which is awesome. And so thank you to everyone who backed it on Kickstarter. You were able to unlock this content for us. And initially, there won't be naval content in the Underrealm, but that may be something that gets added in the future with future expansions. There also won't be any class abilities that are specific to naval content, but there might be some utility skills such as like underwater breathing or other things that may be of some benefit. Naval schedule. Naval content will be introduced in Alpha 2 as an update. It's not going to be there at the launch of Alpha 2, but later on as they update it, they do plan on it being present and there for testing. There will be naval warfare, naval raid bosses, 3 ship classes will be present as well in Alpha 2, and ships will have functioning cannons, but the shipbuilding UI will not most likely be complete. Ship physics will also still be in development as of July of 2023. Naval NPCs. They do exist in and around the oceans. There will be sailing NPCs, there will be some within fortresses, some on frigates or galleon ships, as well as raid bosses and quest givers. Mariner classes. Mariner classes, also referred to as boatsmanship classes or boatsman skills, contain different skill trees, arranged in a similar manner to artisan classes. As a player gains experience in these different skills, they become more adept at using them. You will get better interaction with attachments such as the gunnery. You'll be able to pilot and drive the ship. You'll be able to have better ship navigation, and you'll be able to utilize the ship components such as the furling the sails. You also will be able to repair your ship, such as the speed and the amount of health restored would be able to be increased. You'll unlock defensive skills and utility-based skills. So you'll have a lot of interaction with your ship to be able to improve it as you level up that Mariner class. Ships. These are the vehicles in Ashes of Creation, and they are owned by the player who has a ship item in their inventory. Only that player can summon the ship. Ship creation is generally delegated to players. There won't be many non-player owned ships. Questlines may have NPC-driven ships, and NPC ships will be present on the ocean that are adversaries or monsters that will be targets for players to try and raid or hunt for treasure. For the most part, the ship creation will be delegated to the player, but, like you said, there will be some NPC ships out there for you to go out and raid and grab all the booty you want. There won't be mechanics for players to hire the NPCs to carry out tasks on ships, so you will have to have your team actually man all the positions of the ship. And ship owners are able to grant permissions to allow players to navigate their ships and gain access to certain functions as well. So when you're gathering a team, make sure you give them the right permissions to be able to operate all of their functions. Ship navigators receive a significant defense buff while they're navigating the ship to reduce the CC effects and increase damage mitigation significantly. So essentially that's a way to protect you while you are actually driving the ship, so you don't get absolutely ganked by somebody who is like a rogue sitting on your ship, for example, right? But if the ship navigator is killed or otherwise removed from the ship, then any player will be able to navigate the ship for a period of 15 to 20 minutes before it despawns and then becomes a wreckage. If you're thinking about taking over somebody's ship, it's going to take you a while to kill them while they're actually commanding the vessel. But if they hop off the vessel, then that's another way of bam, all right, now they're free. Take them out, So it's going to be a weird dynamic of like, if you get raided, you're just going to sit on your navigation thing and hope you can drive away, but you're basically just stalling out somebody killing you. We'll see how it goes. It all depends on balancing. Again, try to test it. We'll figure it out. Other ship permissions may include operating the weapons, the anchors, and the utility items. Players will have quests, that start them on the path towards getting their personal vessel around level 10 or 15 is what they believe. and player merchants will not be able to be placed on ships, and nothing can move or block ships. So they have ultimate priority over anything, so you can't try and block a ship from being able to go somewhere. It's just going to plow right through. Ship classes. Ships are divided into different classes of vessel, which relate to their size and their capabilities in battle and in transportation. Small vessels are your personal vessels, which will be for solo or personal content. You can have up to 1 to 3 players in those. A medium frigate will be for group content up to a size of about 8 people. And your large galleons will be for raid content, and that'll be up to a size of 40 people on these massive ships. So those are pretty sick. Looking forward to doing some big raid content, killing some raid bosses out there. The amount of crew required in order for a ship to be effective depends on its class, and all ship classes minimally require a captain to drive the ship. And certain ship classes will have the ability to render crowd control effects on other ships, such as harpoon effects as well. Naval caravans. Naval caravans, also referred to as raft caravans, allow the transportation of cargo over the water, and unlike merchant ships, these are capable of transitioning to and from land at the point of intersection of land and water. So they're essentially an all-terrain kind of a vehicle that can transition from water to land very easily. And by default, these caravans have a racial appearance, but players will be able to apply caravan skins to change this appearance. Summoning ships. Only the player who has the ship item in their inventory can summon that ship. Ships excluding naval caravans can only be summoned from a port or a harbor. Ships may also be able to summon in rivers or other bodies of water depending on the depth. So that's also an interesting take there, that there might be some spots in rivers where you'll be able to summon it and, take advantage of that. Naval caravans are initiated when a land-based caravan intersects with the ocean as well. Shipbuilding. Shipbuilding can be carried out by any player in possession of the right components, recipes, and advanced enough through the node with a harbor. Various professions can craft ship components, and these components can be sold to other players. So again, it's working with the whole artisan system of, if you're going to want a ship, you might have to partner with other people who are using other professions to be able to get your building crafted and your boat crafted. Ships may only be crafted or upgraded in harbor ship workstations that are unlocked by the advancement of coastal nodes. So if you have a coastal node, it is important that you actually build these harbor ship workstations for people, because that'll drive them to going to your coastal node to use it for a port. Players can choose joints to get populated with other offensive weaponry, defensive, or utility attachments they want on their ship prior to the construction completion. And the types of attachments that are available are, dictated by its ship's class. You'd be able to do things like movement, durability, speed, your turn rate, the hit points, defensive and damaging abilities, how many weapon slots, and also the aesthetic customization as well. Ships will likely not have closed spaces or internal compartments, such as like a captain's quarters. And a quote from Stephen Sharif basically states that they're trying to stay away from internal compartments within ships because that presents a whole different type of user interface and flow that can be a bit cumbersome and problematic, especially in combat in close spaces. So we're trying to stay away from that under deck aspect and keep things all on deck for better readability on the player side. And I can understand that he doesn't want to have very condensed fighting areas. But then there's the argument of you already have condensed fighting areas when you think about dungeons and caves and any other sort of area. Like, there's going to be a lot of people that are contending with some of these open world cave dungeons. So I don't know. It's interesting, right? But I get it, because it can be really close quarters on a ship compared to like in a cave or a dungeon. So naming ships. Ships will be able to be named, and ship names may potentially appear on the ship's hull or floating text above the ship as well. Naval combat. Naval combat involves different types of ships with varying capabilities, armaments, and roles to play out in the high seas. There will be a balance and counterbalance between ships from PvP and PvE perspectives. There will be naval PvP between each other on the ships, and naval PvE includes open sea raids and sea-based bosses. And certain ship classes and components may support ramming of other vessels or raid bosses. So you might be able to put some attachments on your ships to be able to ram into other things to do some damage. And ship weapons can damage both players and structures. Damage done by ship's weapons, such as potion launchers, will generate threat as well. Characters can also use ranged skills during naval combat, but taunts and other such threat-generated skills can be utilized for tanking at sea as well. Coastal points of interest, such as harbors, offer objective-based naval gameplay during node sieges as well. They also stated that there is a castle that's going to be located on an island that's basically only going to be able to be affected by naval combat. So there's going to be islands out there that people are going to get that the only way you can get it is through the naval combat, which is pretty neat. Naval PvP. Ships moving into the open sea naval PvP zone, which is it's basically their open waters or deep ocean areas, will flag players as combatants. And what that means is initially, once you get out to sea, it's not going to flag you immediately, but once you start getting out to that open water area, then you do get flagged, and then that becomes, PvP time. Everybody's purple, and you start duking it out with everyone, and once you become red, you also will remain red while you're in the open sea. So you can't get rid of it until you die or move on, Players entering the open seas area will also be notified on your user interface ahead of time. And death penalties for corrupt players apply to every zone in the game, including those PvP naval zones. Non-corrupt players will suffer reduced death penalties when you're in the naval PvP zone. And open seas obviously have better resources and more abundance to be able to compensate for the added level of risk. So obviously the further you go out, the more risk you're taking. And there's going to be better opportunities to gain more loot and, all kinds of stuff. So obviously, if you're taking more risk, there needs to be more reward. And that's what they're balancing, and it should be good. Operators of ships' weapons platforms can initiate naval PvP against another ship in the following cases: the result of events such as guild wars or node wars, and as the result of open world PvP utilizing the flagging and corruption system. Hijacking ships. Certain ships can be hijacked, destroyed, or looted, but the ships themselves cannot be permanently captured. Naval caravans cannot be hijacked as well. The cargo on the trade ship will be similar to caravans in the ship that must be destroyed in order to capture the loot from its wreckage. Coastal/island nodes. There will be nodes along the coast and on the islands. These nodes will have specific water-oriented influences, services, and quest lines that relate to the seas. There is a healthy amount of sea content within the coastlines and the continents that does not fall into the open sea area. So you will have plenty of stuff to do that doesn't require you to actually go out and get flagged for PvP, so they're just letting players know that. And coastal nodes chain the spawn tables of nearby water content and can also trigger specific events. Coastal nodes are not directly siegeable by sea. Instead, harbors offer objective-based naval gameplay during node sieges. Harbors. Harbors are points of interest that appear in proximity to coastal nodes. Harbors have a significant amount of influence over the waters. The first coastal node to reach Village Stage 3 will take control of its closest harbor. So that's very important. If you're choosing a coastal node, make sure you're leveling it up quickly because you will gain control of the closest harbor when you hit that Village Stage 3. Harbors have a disembarkation, that's a weird word, disembarkation zone that merchant ships can cross to be guided into the harbor. And merchant ships can only be launched and received at harbors in the similar way that land caravans can only be launched and received in a caravansary. Harbors will grant quests that are related to naval content. Ships may only be crafted or upgraded in those workstations that are unlocked by the advancement of coastal nodes. There will also be fishing boats in Ashes of Creation, and they're utilized in deep sea fishing. Winds. There will also be wind that will influence the speed and the direction that the ships travel in the open sea, and players will need to take wind direction and strength into consideration when navigating in open waters. So that's pretty neat that there's going to be weather effects that you have to take into effect as you are traversing the sea. It's great. We want fantasy, but we also want realism. That's the perfect balance of knowing how to make stuff more real and still lean into fantasy, and that's a really cool feature. But in terms of tides, there won't be tidal patterns in the ocean, but the ocean will not be static content all the time, which means unique content will be represented at certain times in regards to those climates as well. Basically, there won't be any underwater nodes, but there will be some underwater dungeons that you will see as a part of the naval content. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's video on naval content. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I just wanted to say thank you. Big shout out to everyone who's been subscribing and watching the videos. I really do appreciate it, and pretty soon here, I'm going to make a channel trailer so you guys kind of know what to expect with my channel. But if you've been watching the video so far, you kind of understand. I like to be very informative and provide as much information and help that I can to the people. And once I've kind of covered each topic that I want to discuss from Ashes of Creation, I will be going more in depth into sort of like news and feedback and kind of, asking you guys as a part of the community to like what we think, when we're discussing a topic, just giving feedback on what we think could be done better, what we think has been done well. I want this to be, a channel to help Ashes of Creation to be able to make this game better. No doubt. And once it comes out, we're going to definitely provide them plenty of feedback. So, alrighty, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.